The blue curve of the alien planet filled half the sky. Its clouds glowed faint green at night, like slow lightning trapped in mist. Beneath the observation deck, the human outpost clung to a ridge of black glass rock that rang when the wind hit it. Every plate of the station was bolted down. Every seam had extra sealant. The air outside tasted like cold metal and bitter pine. People learned that on their first patrol. Jake Morrison stood with one hand on the rail, watching the green glow pulse over the valley. His coffee had gone cold. He did not care. If his hands held a cup, they did not shake. That was the trick he had learned in war. Give your fingers a job, make your breath slow. Count the beats in your chest until your thoughts line up like soldiers. He was not a soldier now, not officially. On paper, he was Operations Lead Luna Defense Liaison, which mostly meant fix broken things and keep nervous people calm. Jake was good at both. He was also good at finding problems before they killed anyone. That was why the outpost still had its air. Behind him, the communication room hummed like a hive. Screens filled with rising and falling waves. Thin lines of blue text crawled. Dr. Lisa Carter leaned forward in her chair, her dark hair tied back, her eyes red from 3 days with almost no sleep. She did not look up when Jake stepped in. She did not notice the cold coffee steam no longer rose from his cup. "It's back," she said softly. "Same carrier, same rhythm, they're trying again." Jake set the cup down and stood beside her. He did not understand all the math that sat inside those waves. He did not need to. He saw pattern. He saw intent. The signal was not random noise. It was a hand knocking on a door. "Play it," he said. The room speakers clicked. A low note filled the air, then broke into gentle steps like a child walking down piano keys. Silence. Then the steps again, this time with a higher echo, as if the child had found a second keyboard on a different floor. Lisa turned a dial. The sounds became a soft buzz like flies behind glass. She pulled words out of the buzz. A machine voice tried to shape them. It failed at first. Then it found purchase and pushed out a line in flat English. "Help, we request help." Jake felt the skin on his arms prickle. He had heard distress calls in his life. Pilots whispering coordinates as fire climbed up cockpit walls, miners trapped under ice roofs, station hands coughing as their oxygen dropped like the tide. This was not the same. This voice had no breath. It was not human, but it was desperate in a way he understood without language. "Location," Jake said. Lisa pointed at the star map. Her nail tapped a dim cluster that the chart called Zephyr Corridor. It was 2 fast jumps away, and then 1 careful glide through a narrow lane of gravity pits that could chew a ship in half. "Can we answer?" Jake asked. "I already did," Lisa said. "I sent a carrier ping, then a 2-tone ladder, then a simple prime count. They echoed prime. They know it's us." Jake nodded. "Prime numbers. Good choice. No culture owns them. No god forbids them. In the cold of space, primes are simply true." The door hissed and someone tall and glass-like stepped in. The newcomer moved in slow, careful steps, as if not to wake a sleeping floor. He wore a long coat that shimmered like still water. Where his face might be was a smooth, crystal surface lit from within by soft blue and silver. The colors shifted as he paused, a language of light that humans had learned to translate into text, if not into feeling. This was Velter, liaison from the Zephyrian Council. The council had never called itself a government. The word tasted like war to them, but it guided people without force. Jake liked Velter. The alien was patient. He also remembered small favors, like a human who brought a heater to a cold meeting room without being asked. Velter's inner lights dimmed in greeting, then brightened at the screen. "The sound comes again," he said in soft, accented English. His voice came through a band at his throat that carried vibration into air. "You tried to speak to them." "Briefly," Lisa said. "We don't have a grammar yet, but meaning is clear. It's a help call." Velter's lights turned pale green, worry, from the corridor. "Yes." Velter was very still for a long second. The green faded to gray-blue, sadness mixed with resolve. "There were gardens there," he said quietly. "Years ago, forests of glass trees that sang when wind moved through them. Our singers trained in those groves. When the devourers came, we fled. We told ourselves we would return when the storm had passed. The storm did not pass." Jake knew the word devourers. Everyone did. He wished the name were a rumor. He wished it was a story made by parents to frighten children away from the dark. It was not. The devourers were real. They were not a species the way Zephyrians were. They were a hunger that had learned to build ships. They ate life. Plants, animals, oceans, air. They left worlds like bones in snow. The signal rose in the room. Help. Jake glanced at the wall clock. He made a choice. We send a ship, he said. Lisa looked up, startled. Command will never approve fast enough. Then we send a small one, Jake said. Fast, low signature. We map a route. We do not wait for permission to knock on a door someone is hammering from the other side. Velter's lights flickered, strong white at the core, a color humans learned meant admiration. You would go. I'll pilot. Lisa rubbed her eyes. Jake, that corridor is a meat grinder, you know that. Jake picked up his cold coffee, took a sip, and grimaced. I've flown worse. The door hissed again. A woman with a shaved head and a scar that ran from her eyebrow down into her hairline stepped in and crossed her arms. She wore a black uniform with a patch of the Luna Defense crest. Commander Sloan. She had arrived 2 days ago with 3 escorts and a hard smile. What worse? She asked, gaze sliding to the screens. What are we doing with my antennae? Jake did not look away. We're answering a distress call. No, Sloan said simply. We are not. I have orders. No contact missions without joint approval. No movement through the corridor. No bleeding for strangers. They're not strangers to us, Velter said quietly. They were our neighbors. Sloan's lips thinned. I am sorry for your loss, she said in a tone that meant she was not sorry. But human lives come first. Jake felt old anger lift inside him like a hand pushing him from a chair. Those are human lives downrange too if we sit and do nothing, he said. The devourers don't stop. We learned that. Stand down, Sloan said. That's an order. The signal climbed, broke, and carried a new line, cracked with digital strain as the translator guessed at sounds it did not yet know. Children. Lisa's hand shook on the dial. Jake swallowed. He turned his head very slowly, as if not to spook a brittle thing inside him. Commander, he said, arrest me later if you have to. Right now I am taking a shuttle. Sloan's eyes were hard stone. You try to launch and I will lock your hangar. You attempt to override and I will stun you and anyone in your team. Velter's lights went dark. No light inside him at all for a second. It was the closest thing Zephyrians had to holding their breath. Lisa moved her hand from the dial to Jake's sleeve. She did not squeeze, she just touched cloth. It was enough to tell him she was with him and also afraid. Jake stared at Sloan. She stared back. Outside, the green clouds rolled. The glass ridge sang. The signal whispered again. Children, please. Sloan opened her mouth to speak. The outpost alarms screamed. Every screen in the room turned red. A new symbol bloomed on the star map, like a drop of oil spreading in water. The devourers had just appeared at the edge of the system. The alarm was a long metal knife dragged across steel again and again. It cut through talk and sleep and thought. People ran, boots slammed on floors. The outpost's skin shuddered as blast doors slammed shut and locked. Jake's body moved before orders followed. He tossed the cold coffee into a sink, grabbed the headset from the rack, and spoke as he walked. Ops to all teams, we are at threat condition red. Repeat red, secure oxygen, power, and comm cores. Lisa, stay on signal filters. Find me frequencies they use to talk to themselves. Velter. The Zephyrian lifted a hand. His inner lights were pale white now. Focus. I will warn my people in the valley, he said. Our shelters are ready. Sloan stepped into his path. You will stay inside this facility, she said. Velter's lights turned the calm blue of firm refusal. I will go where I must. Sloan lifted her wrist device. If you step out that door, I will. Stand down, Commander, Jake said sharply. If the devourers land, we need the valley shelters closed and sealed. Velter's people know those systems. You will not shoot our ally for doing his job. Sloan's jaw worked. The alarm hammered. She stepped aside, but her eyes said the motion cost her. Velter nodded once, then glided away, fast for his kind, coat whispering against the floor. Jake hit the hangar deck at a run. The high doors were still open. Beyond them, the sky was a storm of green fire and black wings. Not wings, he told himself. Hulls. The Devourer ships did not look like ships. They looked like living hard shadows with no edges, bending the eye around them. When light hit their surfaces, it did not bounce. It slid inside and did not come back. 4 human fighters rose from the east ridge launch rails, dark triangles with blue engine cones. They were small. They were brave. Jake's chest ached watching them. He forced himself forward through the crush of crew, cables, and tanks. Just tell me one thing, said a low voice by his shoulder. Jake turned and found Kara Vishny, senior mechanic, short, powerful, grease on her cheek like war paint. She handed him a flight jacket. "Tell me you are not flying the Needle alone." The Needle was the outpost's fastest shuttle. She was a tube with a chair and a hard engine. She was not made for dogfights. She was made to dive, grab, and run. "I'm not flying alone," Jake said. "You are if you want." Kara spat into a rag and wiped a smudge off the jacket zipper. "I'm offended it's even a question." Sloane's voice thundered over the hangar speakers. "All non-essential launches are suspended. All personnel report to assigned defense stations." Kara handed Jake a helmet. "We're essential." They were halfway up the Needle's ladder when two military police stepped in, rifles across their chests. The closer one raised a palm. "Sir, ma'am." "Not now," Jake said and tried to step past. "Sir," the guard said again, firmer. "Orders from Commander Sloane. The hangar is closed to." Four things happened in one breath. First, a shallow tremor ran through the deck. Dust shook out of old vents. People looked up as if at thunder. Second, the outpost's long gun on the west ridge fired. You did not hear the beam in air. You felt it inside your teeth. A bright streak lanced into the low clouds. A devourer craft shuddered, warped, and split in half like black ice under a hot blade. Third, an EMP pulse rolled across the valley. Every instrument needle flicked to zero. Screens went to snow. The lights died, then gasped back on as the outpost's battery banks cut in. Fourth, Lisa's voice hit the hangar speakers like a rope thrown to a drowning swimmer. "Jake, pick up." He slapped his ear cuff. "Go." "They're broadcasting on a sideband I think we can spoof," she said, breath fast. "If I push false swarm coordination data, we might make them trip over themselves for a minute. A minute is all I can buy." "It's enough," Jake said. "Open the rails for the Needle." "Done." And Jake. "Yeah." The signal from the corridor changed. He stopped on the ladder. Changed how? It added a locator ping. It's not random. It's an actual nav beacon now. Someone out there is guiding us in. "Someone who wants us to come," Jake said. "Or someone who wants us to fly right into their mouth," Kara muttered. Jake looked at the guards. He looked at Sloane's camera eye above the bay and felt the hot urge to rip it off the wall. He breathed. He made his voice level. "Soldier," he said to the guard in front. "What's your name?" "Martinez," the guard said, eyes flicking between Jake and the Needle. "Martinez, if you stop us, we lose the chance to pull children out of a fire. Your commander will punish me. Maybe you, but you will have to sleep with your choice. I have slept with worse. You don't want to." Martinez looked at his partner. The partner looked at the ceiling. The deck trembled again. Someone shouted for a med kit. In that small pocket of noise, Martinez dropped his hand 1 inch. "Go," he said, "now." Kara hit the ladder like a cat and vanished into the Needle's belly. Jake followed. The hatch slammed. The world became small and sharp and honest. Controls, check lights, the clean smell of fresh oxygen, the soft whine as the engine spun up like a hunter's bowstring. "Needle to tower," Jake said. "Rails hot." Lisa's laugh came back, ragged. "I love rules when they keep us alive. I hate them when they keep us from saving people. Rails are hot." Sloane's voice cut in diamond hard. "Needle, stand down, that's an order." Jake took a breath like the first breath you take after waking from a nightmare and finding the room still dark. "Negative tower," he said. "We are launching. If you need a code for your report, use this one. We don't run." He threw the release. The Needle fell. For a half-second there was only the rush of wind and the taste of metal and the scream of rails as they gave up their child to the air. Then the engine grabbed the sky and kicked. They were a dart through the green glow. Jake kept the ridge to his left, the crack in the clouds to his right, and the Needle's nose pointed at the black smear that marked the gravity lane out. On the valley floor, the shelters sealed, heavy doors sliding shut like eyelids. Zephyrians hurried down ramps into light below. Velter stood at the edge of the last hatch. His inner lights flickered a fast code. "Fortune go with you." The door closed on his face. Kara strapped in beside Jake, hands already moving over systems. "I tied our transponder to Lisa's swarm spoofs," she said. "For 30 seconds we look like rotten fruit to a devourer palate. After that we look like dessert." Jake grinned despite himself. "Then we better be halfway to hell by then." The devourers noticed. Two small craft peeled off the main swarm and fell at an angle that made Jake think of Hawks diving. The Needle's cockpit glass dimmed against their radiation glare. The engine heat climbed. A thin whistle grew in the hull, the sound of tiny things in the skin complaining about physics. 10 seconds of sweet camouflage, Kara said, eyes on the count. 9, 8. Hang on, Jake said, and rolled the needle through a small hole between two falling shadows. For a breath, they were a nothing dot inside giant night. He felt it in his gut, the way a curve in a canyon makes you feel the earth pull. 3, Kara said. 2, and we are cake again. The Devourer ships flared and turned, overcorrecting. They lived to correct. Jake shoved the throttle forward. The needle did not have guns that mattered, but she could move like a thought. They hit the gravity lane like a fish hits a fast river and shot into black space, the green clouds dropping away behind them. The outpost became a bright nail stuck in a dark board. The swarm turned that way like a mouth. Jake felt the thin weight of the needle under his hands. He felt what she could do. He felt what she could not. He looked at the map, at the blinking light that was the new beacon in the corridor. Hold on, he said. Always, Kara said. They ran. In the back of the ship, a folded stretcher bumped its straps. Two med packs tinked against each other like tiny bells. A small bag of children's blankets lay under the jump seat. Kara had put it there. She had not said anything when she did. The stars ahead were cold needles. The beacon blinked steady as a heartbeat. Jake set the course. He thought of Sloane and Velter and Lisa and everyone below green clouds. He thought of the voice that had said children. He thought of the words he had thrown into the air like a match into dry grass. We don't run. Outside the window, something huge moved in the dark. It was not the Devourers. It was a ship big enough to shade a city. A human ship. The battleship Constancy slid out of shadow and blocked their path. The Constancy filled the forward glass like a wall. Her hull lines were sharp, her plates new, her engines banked and waiting, as if she had been holding her breath. Blue guidance lasers painted the Needle's nose. A targeting reticle flickered red. Needle, this is the UNA battleship Constancy, Captain R. Sloane commanding, said a voice they knew. It was smooth ice. You will power down and prepare to be docked. Your unauthorized launch ends now. Kara muttered a word the regulation handbook did not include. Jake killed velocity. He did not cut power. He did not give his little ship away with a soft sigh. He wanted the engine hot when he needed it. Put her on, he said. Kara tapped the panel. Sloane's face arrived on a small screen. Jaw set, eyes flat, headset snug, the kind of calm that lands on a person who has been angry so long that it feels natural. Captain, Jake said, tasting the title like ash. You move fast. I follow orders fast, she replied. Dock now. The Devourers are in the valley, Jake said. We're going to the corridor to pull kids. You can court-martial me when I'm done. Sloane's mouth twitched, not a smile, a small break in steel. You think this is about you, Morrison? No, you are a footnote. This is about what happens when a human outpost lets an alien council dictate our risk. Kara leaned in. You can drop the speech, ma'am. If you wanted to stop us, you would have iced our engine and pulled us with a line. Why talk first? Because I need your ship, Sloane said. Jake blinked. You what? Devourer scouts have seeded the corridor with biomines, she said. They grow fast. They stick to anything with a big gravity shadow. The Constancy is large. We trip them. We need a small, fast craft to thread the needles and mark safe lanes. That's you. Kara let out a short, surprised laugh. You're telling us to do the thing you tried to jail us for doing. I am telling you to obey for once in your messy career, Sloane said tightly. You will fly under my direction. You will not land. You will tag lanes. You will return. I repeat, you will not land. Jake felt his jaw clench. He unclenched it. He looked down at the little bag of blankets under the seat. I will mark your lanes, he said. And if the beacon is a trap, I will call it, but if it's what we think it is. You will not land, Sloane said again. Jake did not answer. He cut the channel. He felt Kara's eyes on him. They were flint and light. What? She said. I didn't promise, Jake said. She grinned. Good, I hate lying to save face. I like lying to save lives. They shot past the Constancy's prow and dove into the corridor. The gravity lane twisted like a black river through a maze of invisible rocks. Out here, up was a dream word. You flew by math and gut. The beacon blinked like a pulse. It was close. It was far. In space, both can be true. Biomines, Kara said quietly, pointing. They looked like clusters of dark bubbles hanging still in nothing. Then you noticed the tiny, slow crawl of their surfaces, a ripple like a breathing lung. They drifted toward the needle, then backed away as Lisa's spoof made them taste a new thing in the dark. Confusion. Tagging, Kara said, and flicked markers into space like crumbs of light. The crumbs formed a thin, glowing line that a large ship could see and follow without kissing a mine. They flew deeper. The beacon grew louder on the board. The warship behind them stayed one bend back like a wolf smarter than most wolves. Lisa, Kara said into the link, you seeing what we're seeing? You're off my side monitors, Lisa said. The corridor eats my sensors. I only see your tags. Are you painting pretty? She's painting like a pro, Jake said. The compliment cost nothing and bought a smile he could hear. The lane opened. The beacon sat ahead like a lantern on a dock. Around it, shadows moved. Jake's stomach flipped like a coin. Are those, Kara whispered. Ships, Jake said. Hundreds, maybe thousands. They were not warships. They were whatever had flown when a world pack-crushed its last harbor. School boats with patched sides, dome shuttles missing panels, cargo cans with engines welded on like afterthoughts. They drifted in slow group dance around the beacon, as if holding hands without touching. Zephyrian refuge, Kara breathed. Jake opened a channel on a low-power, tight beam pointed straight at the beacon. He cleared his throat. This is Needle from Human Outpost Hark under green sky, he said. Keep it simple, he told himself. We hear your call. We are here to help. Please respond. He did not expect the reply to come as speech. He expected light. He expected code. He did not expect a voice that sounded like glass wind chimes under snow. We see you, said the voice. We are the children of Zephyr. We are cold. Kara swore softly at the back of her throat. Jake swallowed. How many? He asked. 304 small craft, the voice said. We carry 9,017 children. We have food for one day. Jake glanced at the board, at his fuel, the map that guessed how many trips a small ship could make between a war and a hunger. We will bring more ships, he said. Large ones soon. Our older ones stayed behind to hold the devourers, the voice said. They sang so we could escape. We must be quiet now. The hunters listen. Understood, Jake said. We will be quiet. Kara touched his arm, and when he looked, her eyes were wet. She blinked hard. We can't wait for Sloan to clear lanes for everyone, she said. Your soon is not soon. I know, Jake said. Jake, Lisa's voice crackled. The Constancy is on your trail. Sloan is asking for a status and a no landing confirm. Tell her tagging, Jake said. Tell her lanes are marked. Tell her that, Kara murmured, while we do the other thing. Jake flew the needle forward like a hand reaching through bars. A small craft drifted nearest, its hull a simple bowl with a cracked window patched with clear film. Little faces pressed to the film. They were not human faces. They were smooth with eyes that were more light than tissue. Colors flickered under their skin like a slow heartbeat. Fear glowed dull blue. When one of them saw the needle, the blue shifted to pale green. Curiosity. Open your lower hatch, Jake said. One at a time, no lights. The little bowl held like a breath. Then carefully a dark panel slid back. The needle slid closer, close enough to make hulls whisper. Kara hit the feeder arm control. A soft tube unfolded like a tongue and mated with the open hatch. Thin air hissed, then held. The pressure equalized with a soft sigh. Two at a time, Kara said gently into the tube speaker. Hold hands, walk straight. There is warm air, do not be afraid. Two small Zephyrian children stepped into the tube and walked toward them. Their inner lights were wild with fear and hope. They held hands tighter than rope. When they reached the needle's small cabin, they stopped. They looked at Jake. They looked at Kara. Their lights did not know what to make of faces with skin that did not glow. Kara knelt slow and opened the small bag under the seat. She pulled out a blanket and held it like a flag. It was yellow. It had a picture of a cartoon bear. The bear smiled in the simple way of bears that have never seen a storm. This is for you, Kara said. She wrapped the blanket around the nearer child, careful not to touch too much. The child's lights calmed. The second child looked at the bear and made a small sound that the throat band did not know how to translate. It sounded like a laugh learned yesterday. Jake's chest hurt. The feeder tube coughed. Two more children. The first two moved aside. the cabin filled with careful breathing and soft light. 5 minutes, Kara said. Then we have to cut. Make it 8, Jake said. We can. 5, Kara said. We must not be the reason 9,000 wait longer. Needle, Lisa said in his ear, voice suddenly flat with danger. The Constancy just pinged a command override. Sloan wants your dock engaged. She's pulling you with a line in 60 seconds if you don't hard respond. Jake stared at the children. He pictured Sloan's hand closing around a lever. He pictured a steel line firing out and grabbing the Needle's tail like a hook, with children tumbling in a vacuum tube between rescue and hunger. He did the math he had learned in the ugly part of life. If he let her do this, 2 kids might die in a hose while 200 got lanes. If he fought her, he could buy 8 minutes for 20 kids and maybe lose his career. He had already lost his career twice. He opened a tight beam channel to the Constancy. Captain Sloan, he said, if you try to dock us while we are bridged, you will kill children. Stand by, Sloan said. This is not negotiable, he said. I am not refusing your orders. I am delaying 5 minutes. You can hold 5 minutes. If you cannot hold 5 minutes, you should not be in command. The silence that followed was the worst kind, the kind in which another person weighs pity against policy. Jake's fingers were cold on the throttle. Kara counted under her breath to keep from counting the small heads. Finally, Sloan spoke. The ice in her voice had thinned to glass. 5 minutes, Morrison, then you break and dock. If you do not, I will cut you off the board like a dead light. Copy, he said. They moved fast. The tube pulsed with small feet. Kara wrapped blanket after blanket. Jake kept the feeder numbers steady. The cabin smelled like warm plastic and clean air and something sweet like rain on a dry road. At minute 4, the tube light turned red. The little craft on the other side shuddered. A shadow passed over it, big and slow. The hunters, said the beacon voice, so soft it was hardly a voice at all. Jake looked up, the devourers. They had found the corridor. Cut, Kara said. Not yet, Jake said. You promised her 5, Kara said. We're going to keep it, Jake said, by making a bigger problem for her than us. He thumbed open the wide channel and yelled into the dark. Constancy, this is Needle, devourers at the far end. Repeat, they are on our beacon. If you want your lanes, now is the time to use them. He closed the tube. He sealed the hatch. He burned the engine. Hold on, he told the cabin full of thin light and soft blankets. We're going to do something stupid. He aimed the needle at the nearest biomine cluster and sent a burst on the false swarm frequency Lisa had mapped. The cluster pulsed. It rolled. It moved like a school of fish learning fear. It flowed toward the big gravity shadow behind them. Jake dragged his line of tagged crumbs across the mine cluster like a stick across ants. The Constancy saw the crumbs. She saw the mines. She saw the devourers. She did the only thing a heavy thing can do when light things threaten small lives. She charged. Her shields burned white as she plowed through the edge of the mine field. Biomines splashed and died on her skin, each one a wet black star. Her forward guns lit the lane like dawn in a deep canyon. The devourers turned. They shifted. They thought they knew that weight and shape. They opened their mouths. Go, 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 Kara whispered, eyes wide as the small cabin shook. The Constancy drew their attention and took their anger like an old tree taking lightning for a younger field. For one long, narrow minute, the way back to the outpost was open. Jake ran. The Constancy took a hit that made the dark look away. For a second, her shields failed. The left flank of her hull glowed. Then her second skin grew over the burn, new and ugly and strong. God, she's tough, Kara said. She's going to hate that I said that. She can put it in my file, Jake said. His hands were steady. His heart was not. He aimed for the green clouds and the singing ridge and the small people under the hill. Needle, Sloan said in his ear, voice a clean blade again. Dock on Bay 3. The moment you seal, you return to lane marking under my direct. Do not attempt another retrieval without order. Jake pictured her in her chair, jaw tight, eyes bright. He did not hate her. He hated what fear did to good people. He had seen it make brave ones cruel and kind ones careful. Roger Constancy, he said, docking in 3. He looked back at the cabin. A child reached for his sleeve. He let a small light hand touch fabric and did not flinch. Kara, he said softly, we're not going to be able to stop, not after this. Oh, I know, she said. The needle slid into Bay 3. The door shut. The ship groaned as pressure came back like a held breath. A medical team stood ready. They stared. Then they moved, slow and careful, as if everything in the cabin would break at a rough voice. Sloane waited by the inner hatch, helmet under one arm, posture carved from a cliff. She watched 9 Zephyrian children file past, each wrapped in a bright human blanket. Her face did not change. Her eyes did. "Tag your lanes," she said roughly to Jake. "Then bring me more." They ran the line until engine heat scraped the red. Needle out, tag a thread through the mines, hand the Constancy a path, slip to the beacon, take 2 crafts worth of children, burn back, dock, hand them to medical, drink water that tasted like plastic and hope. Repeat. The outpost's glass ridge sang under green clouds. Above, a battle turned the sky new colors nobody had words for. Jake learned the new math fast. The corridor and the beacon and the bay gave them 1 cycle every 32 minutes if the Constancy held the swarm heat. Each cycle carried 12 to 16 children, depending on how small feet fit into the couch row. If they ran 8 hours, they could carry 216. The beacon had said 9,017. Kyra saw him doing the numbers and slapped his shoulder. "Don't, you'll freeze your heart." "Frozen hearts bleed less," he said. "They also stop," she said, "and I need yours pumping until this is over." Lisa's voice became the sound of the world. She found the Devourer's breath in the static and bent it. She learned which burst of notes made a biomine hesitate. She learned which timing made their coordinated dive stumble like dancers hearing the wrong drum. Some tricks worked once. The Devourers learned. They always learned. Lisa learned faster. She did not leave the chair. When Kara dragged her water, she blinked as if surprised to find her own hands attached to arms. Velter joined med teams in the bay. He spoke to frightened children in light and soft chords and the slow hand signs of his people. He cupped tiny faces in careful hands and did not show the grief that burned inside his chest, because grief eats air that others need. Sloane fought the war. She made the Constancy do things the manual called foolish. She hurled the ship sideways through a mine ribbon, hull-skimming black bubbles that burst and left slime that hardened into jagged scars the crew would polish for weeks. She called for heavy beams and shut them off mid-burn to change rhythm and keep the swarm from finding a pattern. When missiles died on Devourer skins like rain on oil, she switched to shaped charges that bloomed like white flowers against black mouths. She did not sleep. She did not eat. She salted her speech to her crew with the kind of hard joke that lets hands move when hands want to shake. Jake saw her between runs once. She stood alone at a console, her shoulders tight. He stepped up beside her. "You were right," she said without looking at him. "I hate that." "About what?" he asked. "About running," she said. We could have pulled up the anchor, gone dark, and prayed the swarm had better pray. We didn't. You said the words, my people heard them. Fine, you win that part." "We both win if the children live," he said. She nodded. "Your mechanic," she said after a breath. "She is good." "She is that," Jake said. Sloane's mouth tightened. "Don't make me like you," she said. "It will make it harder to court-martial you later." "Understood, ma'am," Jake said, and for the first time both of them almost smiled. On cycle 14, the beacon voice changed. It spoke faster, it bled fear. "The hunters bring teeth," it said. Jake's stomach dropped. What does that mean? Kara looked through the forward glass and found out. A new shape drifted into the lane. It was not like the other Devourer craft. Those were knives and mouths. This was a hive carried on a ship. It pulsed and breathed and shed small dark beads that drifted free and grew spines. They were teeth. They were minds that learned to move and choose. "They're seeding the path," Kara whispered. "They want to lock the beacon in and feed later." "Lisa," Jake said into the link, "I need a new trick." "I am out of polite ones," Lisa said. "I have one rude one." "I like rude," Kara said. "I can make a bad rhythm," Lisa said. "A soft noise that sounds like a Devourer calling for help. It might confuse their seed logic. It might also make them angry. Angry swarms forget patterns. They throw themselves where the sound is loudest." Jake saw the map in his head. He saw the mine teeth and the beacon and the big warship that could take hits. He did not like the path his mind drew. He drew it anyway. "Do it," he said quietly. "Play it on the far side of the Constancy. Make our ship the storm." Sloane came on the line without being called. "You want my hull to be your drum." "I want you to be a wall a river breaks against," Jake said. "Fine," Sloane said. and her voice took a thin, bright edge he had heard in pilots and mothers who had made a choice and would not step back from it. Lisa played the bad rhythm. It was low and ugly. It vibrated in the teeth and in the ribs. It felt like a lie told by something that has never told the truth before. It made Jake want to grind his molars into dust. The mind teeth turned their spines toward the constancy, drawn like bugs to a hot bulb in a summer night kitchen. Now, Sloane yelled, all cannons staggered fire, do not chase patterns, break them. White light danced around the constancy. The mind teeth hit her shields and stuck, then died and fell away as hard black grains that drifted like ash. The big ship rolled to scrape one side and then the other, like an animal rolling in dust to shake off flies. The swarm behind her turned stupid for 12 precious seconds. The beacon voice whispered like a kid hiding under a bed. We can run now. Run, Jake said. We will cover. He did not look at the fuel. He did not look at the heat. He did not look at the long, thin line he had been drawing from his choices to a dark dot in a file called consequences. He looked at the little bowl craft and held his ship still as it slid 2 more children into the needle. Time, Kara said. We push it, we don't make it back. We make it back, Jake said, because I need to tell a very dumb joke to someone who thinks she can't smile. Who? You, he said. She snorted. You already told me the dumb joke. You said we were going to live. Ha, he said and launched. They hit the lane hard. The Devourers were still confused by ugly music. The Constancy sang with guns that did not sound like songs. She took a bite on the starboard side that cut deep. Alarms howled across her decks. Fire crews ran. A med cart hit a turn too fast, flipped, and 3 bodies rolled. Hands picked them up and moved them anyway. Hold together, Sloane said through her teeth. Not to her ship, to her people, to herself. They docked, they dumped blankets and children and sweat. Jake was turning back to the cockpit when a soft shape blocked the hatch. Velter. He was almost as tall as the doorway. He looked thinner than he had that morning. One of his inner lights pulsed slow and strong. It meant gratitude so heavy it bent his spine. Your feet do not stop, Velter said. They will later, Jake said. Right now I still need them. Velter reached out and touched his sleeve. He had learned that humans felt touch on cloth as kindness, not threat. We do not forget, he said, ever. He stepped aside. Kara slid past with a water bottle in her teeth and a tool in her hand. She had fixed a rattle in the engine housing twice. She would fix it again. On cycle 21, Lisa's voice cracked down to a rasp. Jake, she said, we have another problem. We can have those, Jake said. We're rich in them. Not like this, Lisa said, and sent a file to the needle. A face filled the small screen. A human face. A clean face with soft light and careful hair and a suit that had never seen grease. United Earth News Emergency Broadcast, said the banner. It's live, Lisa said. It's on a half-hour delay to us because of the corridor bend. The whole Earth is watching. The clean man smiled with sadness he had practiced. Today we received terrible news, he said. Alien forces are approaching our outer stations. Our leaders warn of risk. They also reveal some disturbing facts. The creatures our commanders call Zephyrians are not what they seem. They are the ones who led the Devourers to us. They have used our compassion to pull us into a war that is not ours. Kara swore at the screen. Who fed them that trash? Someone who wants public will to break, Jake said. The screen cut to a woman in a lab coat sitting against a gray wall. She looked tired. A text banner under her chin read Dr. T. Ellis, Biology. Her voice shook. We have samples, she said. Zephyrian biology uses resonance our sensors confuse with signal. It looks like a call. It's not. It's a side effect. They didn't call the Devourers, but it looked like they did. It was a mistake. The clean man nodded gravely. Mistakes have costs. We must ask, how many human lives will we spend to save a people whose very existence may attract our enemies? The screen flashed a picture of a Zephyrian with inner lights bright and beautiful. The caption said unknown intention. Jake reached out and clicked the screen off. He did it slow, as if fast would break something in his hands. The broadcast will spread fear, Lisa said. Sloane will get calls, some will tell her to cut and run. Sloane's voice arrived 1 second later, low and raw. Needle, she said. Return. Jake's heart sank. Ma'am. Shut it, she said. Return to the Constancy now, not to dock, to brief. They sprinted. The constancy doors opened like a mouth swallowing hope and spitting out orders. Sloane stood over a table full of screens with news banners and fleet signals, and an old paper map of nothing important because she needed to touch a thing that did not move. "The council is split," she said. "Half want us to keep pulling, half want us to run to save the warship so it can fight another day." "What do you want?" Jake asked. She did not answer. She looked at Velter, who stood with perfect stillness at the far end of the table. His lights were a color Jake did not know. "You must speak," Sloane said to him. Velter's voice was soft. "If you leave, we do not hate you," he said. "We know fear, we know math, we will still be grateful for those you saved. But if you stay, the story will spread, not the broadcast, the other one, the old kind. The story our children will tell about humans who heard help and said we don't run." Sloane closed her eyes for a heartbeat. When she opened them, they were not soft, they were hard clear. "I will need a reason I can sell," she said. "Something not made of feelings." Lisa lifted a hand. It shook. She kept it up. "I have one," she said. "Devourers learn, they evolve. They are building teeth that choose. Today they learned we save children. They will adapt to that. If we run now, they will write a tactic called terror lanes, drop small bait groups, pull rescuers into a kill box. If we stay and break them here now, they may learn something else. They may learn that joint fleets can stand. They may learn we don't chase bait. They may learn we cut out hives." "You want to hit their hive ship," Sloane said. Lisa nodded. "It's a brain in a jar. If we smash it, the mind teeth may go dumb. The swarm here may stumble. We buy days, maybe weeks." Sloane looked at Jake. "Can the needle carry a charge into that hive?" Jake thought of the feeder tube and the blankets and the soft light in the cabin. He thought of speeches on clean screens and dirty hands on hot metal. He thought of the word we and the way it feels when it includes someone new. "Yes," he said. Kara grinned like a tired wolf. "Finally, a plan that is exactly our kind of stupid." Sloane leaned on the table. "Then here is your brief," she said. "You will carry a shaped bomb. You will ride the bad rhythm into the hive's mouth. You will plant the charge on the inner wall. You will leave. You will not die if you can help it. While you do that, I will keep every tooth and mouth and bad idea busy. When you get out, this ship and those children will have a road home." She straightened, and Morrison. "Yes, ma'am. If you die, I will be very mad at you." He almost smiled, understood. The hangar lights flashed to launch green. The med crews moved a fresh group of shivering children into the bay and wrapped them in new blankets because the first batch had all been given away, and some of the crew had cut their own clothes to make more. They bolted the charge into the needle's belly. It was ugly and heavy and hummed like a short-circuited hymn. Kara kissed her teeth and patted the casing. "Please do your job." Velter stood by the ladder. He was tall and quiet. His inner lights were low. "Your stories will fly fast," he said. "Our singers will carry them." "Make us sound good," Kara said. "We do not need to," Velter said. "You already are." Jake nodded, throat tight. He sealed the hatch. He took the needle out into a lane full of teeth and mouths and light and lies and one simple truth he could put his hand on. "We don't run." They dove for the hive. The hive ship was not a ship. It was a building with engines. It was a tumor with a plan. It was a black cathedral grown in a dark ocean. As the needle closed, Jake saw surface layers shift like muscle. Spines slid out and back as if smelling. Plates opened and closed in slow breath. "Bad rhythm," Kara said. Lisa's ugly music rolled. The hive did not turn, its smaller guardians did. They swarmed toward the constancy, toward the loud lie. Their teeth turned. Their mouths opened. Their attention moved. "Path," Kara said, breath thin. Jake found one. It was a slit between two slow-opening plates. It moved like a lid blinking. He had a 3-second window. He could fit the needle if he did not think about fitting the needle. "Hold," he said. "Hold now." They slid through the blinking slit and into a space that was both hall and throat. The walls pulsed. The light was a red that was not light. It was the glow of work in meat. The air, there was air, smelled like hot iron and wet leaves and old sugar gone bad. "Don't breathe deep," Kara said, hand over her nose. "You'll taste it forever." The charge in the belly hummed louder. It wanted hot walls. It wanted mass to grip. It wanted to become a sun for 1 second in a place that thought it could not burn. "Target," Jake said. He knew from Lisa's files what to look for. Nodes where thick cables met plates, places where meat changed to lattice. If you stabbed there, the whole body felt it. He scanned. He found a cluster that pulsed with a rhythm that made him think of many feet running in a circle. There, Kara said at the same time, pointing. That is a brain knot if I ever saw one. Hold her, Jake said. He flew the needle to the wall and kissed it. The ship's belly clamps bit. The hull screamed as the hive pushed back. The charge unit extended 4 sharp feet and locked into the living metal. Seal, Kara said, armed on your go. Jake looked once at her. He looked at his hands on the controls. He looked at the wall poolsing under the glass. He felt very small. He felt very clear. Go, he said. Kara's thumb went down. The charge hummed, then became silence. Sometimes a quiet thing is the loudest. It meant the clock had started. Back, Jake said, now. He peeled the needle off the wall. The clamps let go with a wet sound Jake did not want to name. The hive tried to pin them with sudden teeth. He rolled under a moving plate. He shot through a closing slit. The outside darkness was full of small, hard stars suddenly blooming on the Constancy's hull. The big ship rolled and shuddered and did not break. Sloan, Jake said, we left a present time to go. Understood, she said. Her voice had a grain in it that had not been there that morning. It was made of smoke and will. On your mark. Jake looked at the timer. 3-2. Mark, he whispered. The hive lit from the inside. For a second it was a lantern made of night. Lines of light traced veins and nerves from the charge's bite. The glow shot along cables and up spines and into the mine teeth that hung in the lane like seeds waiting to fall. Then the light went out. Everything in space does not make a sound when it breaks, but the human body expects a sound. Jake's ears tried to hear one. They made a small hiss on their own that kept him from going mad. The hive shivered, plates froze, spines drooped. The mine teeth went dull and drifted, no longer choosing. The swarm around the Constancy stumbled. Their coordination flickered and died like bad holiday lights. Now, Sloan barked, and her ship threw out a curtain of fire so dense that even clever things could not thread it. The front of the swarm melted. The back ran into it anyway. The lane cleared not because a miracle happened, but because cause and effect still worked while fear held its breath. Beacon, Jake said, run. The small crafts took that as permission they had needed without knowing they did. They powered forward in 3s and 4s. The lane lights Jake and Kara had thrown might as well have been a road. The Constancy slid aside like a mother pulling a bull from a door. The little bowls and domes came through, some trailing smoke, some with panels held by prayer and tape. Count, Kara said, eyes on the scroll. 20, 28, 40, keep singing, Lisa. I will sing until my throat breaks, Lisa said, and to prove it she coughed and kept singing anyway. The Constancy took a last bite and gave a last punch. The devourers pulled back to circle the dead hive like animals sniffing a trap that has already closed and cannot open again. They did not understand defeat. They understood food. The hive no longer smelled like food. It smelled like loss and learning. Jake flew a cap circle around the stream of small craft. He kept his eyes on gaps. He kept his hands light. He did not let his mind go to the part where he had been inside a mouth and left without being chewed. That thought would come to sit with him later. For now there was wind and math and a job. Needle, Sloan said. Dock when your fuel kisses, then you go to sleep for 14 hours. That's an order. Kara laughed, sharp and tired. You tell good jokes. Not a joke, Sloan said. I need you alive tomorrow, and the next day. This is not a movie where one bright thing ends the war. This is the kind with a long middle. They docked on fumes. The bay was noisy with small feet and soft lights and human voices trying to learn the right speed to speak kindness. Velter stood with both hands full of little hands. He had more joy in him than he knew how to show in a way humans could see. He tried anyway. It looked like light pouring under thick glass. Jake dropped down the ladder and his knees found a floor without asking his brain first. He sat. He smiled without meaning to. He realized his face hurt. He let it. Sloan came down the bay and stopped in front of him. She looked at his hands. She looked at his eyes. She looked at the small scorch mark on the side of his helmet where a hive's spine had touched and kissed and left a black lip. Your report will be very boring, she said. I can spice it up, he said. Don't, she said. I need boring for the council. Facts, numbers, a picture of a dumb bomb and a dented shuttle and a minefield that forgot how to move. He nodded. She put a hand on his shoulder. It was brief. It was a wait. It was a wordless line that said something more complex than thank you and less complicated than I misjudged you and I am changing. Sleep, she said again, and walked away to yell at someone on a screen. Kyra thumped down beside him and let her head fall back against the hull. She closed her eyes. Is it over? She asked after a minute. No, he said. She sighed. I hate that you're right. He tilted his head toward her. Do you want to hear the dumb joke now? She cracked one eye. Fine. What did the Devourer say when it met a joint fleet? What? We taste like defeat. Kyra groaned so loud 3 med-techs looked up. That's awful. I know, he said. She smiled. I love it. Across the bay, Velter bent and lifted a child and held them close. He did not have arms the way humans did. He had long, delicate limbs that could crush stone. He held like wind holds a leaf. The child's light calmed. Other children watched and made small sounds that the throat bands could not catch yet, because happiness and safety are languages you learn last when the world has not given you many lessons in them. Jake's eyes closed. Sleep tried to take him. He could not go yet. He stood because he had to find Lisa and make her drink and then make her stop thinking and close her eyes. He found her still in the chair, fingers white on the armrests. You, he said, water. She drank, she coughed, she laughed. It sounded like a machine trying to grind a smile out of a steel bar. We did a good thing, she said softly, as if worried saying it would break it. We did a good thing, he said. The station shook, not from outside, from inside. A roar rose from the lower decks, human and Zephyrian voices. It was not fear, it was not grief. It was the sound a body makes when a broken bone is set, and for a moment the pain and the hope taste the same. Sloane's voice cut the roar in half. All hands, she said, voice steady and carrying. We held, we saved who we could, we will save more, but I have bad news. Silence fell like a blanket pulled up to a chin. The room waited to hear teeth. The broadcast hit hard, Sloane said. 2 human ships turned back from the corridor. One sent a message, no more alien wars. Lisa's jaw clenched. Kara cursed without passion. Velter's lights dimmed and then brightened as if his heart pumped light. Sloane took a breath. Her next words were not ice, they were iron. They can go, she said. We will be here. Velter raised his head. He looked at Jake. His lights set a complex chord that human software translated as 3 human words. We trust you. Jake nodded. He did not trust much. He trusted this. Tomorrow, Sloane said, we go back, we take the rest. We show the ones who watch that this is not a trap. This is a choice. Jake finally sat. He took one deep breath, careful not to taste hive air in his memory. He closed his eyes. He fell. He dreamed of green clouds and glass trees, and a song that was only a bad rhythm until someone taught it love. The next day would be harder. Cliffhanger, allies peel away under propaganda. The core team vows to continue, but with fewer ships and a longer fight ahead. Part 6, The Price of Staying. Morning on a station in war is a weight, not a light. The green glow outside had thinned. The glass ridge sang a lower note. The bay smelled like metal and sweat and the sweet dust skin leaves on blankets. Jake woke rough. His body ached as if he had been a house someone moved overnight. Kyra handed him a cup. It was not coffee. It was broth with salt and something like rosemary. It brought him back to his bones. Medical says you are banned from the cockpit for 2 hours, she said. Who's flying? He asked. I am, she said. With Raffi on nav, you're on bay and comms. Lisa is on chair until she drops. Velter is everywhere. Everywhere. Everywhere, she said. He did bay work like a penitent. He lifted. He rapped. He smiled when he did not have the muscles left for it. He learned Zephyrian gentle touches, one hand to the shoulder, one small cord of light. On the second cycle, a new human ship appeared at the edge of the lane. Jake felt the field tighten in his chest, ready to break at this one small good. The ship did not come to help. It broadcast a message on wideband for all to hear. To all human craft, a voice said. By order of the Home Council, cease aid and return to core space. Any vessel that continues will be stripped of support and named rogue. Sloane's jaw set. She did not answer. She could not. She was already rogue by the math that message wrote. She wrote her own math. Constancy to all friendly craft, she said on the local net. We still have children in a box. The enemy is still chewing on the lid. You know what to do. Half the craft answered. Half did not. Some turned away. The bad rhythm of propaganda does what the devourers do, it learns to eat. Velter stood on the bay floor and watched a Zephyrian elder take a child's hand and lead them toward a shelter room painted with bright pictures that human sailors had made in the night. His lights pulsed a hue that meant both grief and pride. "Your people fracture," he said softly to Jake. "So do yours," Jake said. "So does everything under stress. The secret is what joins after it breaks." Velter's light warmed. "We have a word for that," he said. "It is hard to speak with a throat band. It means broken and then stronger at the break." "Kintsugi," Jake muttered without thinking. "What is that?" Velter asked. "A human art," Jake said. "You break a bowl, you mend it with gold. You do not hide the crack. You make it the most beautiful line." Velter's lights wrote the new word on the inner walls of his memory. He would carry it to singers. They would make it a chord. The chord would carry beyond the corridor and the green clouds and this single day. On Cycle 6, the Devourers tried something new. They draped a dead hull in human armor plates collected from old battles. They pushed it into the lane. It drifted, lights dead, like a promise made with someone else's skin. "Bait," Kara said over the comm. "The ugly kind." Sloane's voice was a hammer. "Do not hook it. Do not go soft on a dead mask. Keep your eyes on the living." They did. The bait slid past, ugly and frustrating, and a map of how the enemy learned. Lisa recorded its frequencies, its scent on the sensors, the way its wake bent the dust and taught the software to hate it. On Cycle 10, a small human freighter came on wideband, engine coughing smoke. "We turned back," the captain said. "We heard the broadcast. We were wrong. We are here now. We have blankets and bread." Sloane did not cry. Velter did. His lights made the pattern for rain, which his people used only in songs about old gardens. On Cycle 12, a human fighter left formation and dove for a child ship with a broken engine. Jake watched the fighter's pilot match spin and slip in front like a shield. He recognized the style. It was Rodriguez, Ben, who had flown First Contact years ago when all this started as a quiet voice saying, "Help." Rodriguez's voice came on the net, cheerful as always, even with death walking close. "Well now," he said, "who has a rope?" "Use our bellies," Kara said. "We have magnets and bad ideas." They dragged the child's ship like a sled between sled dogs that were also tired and also brave. On Cycle 14, the Constancy took a hit that tore an engine bell. She flew crooked for 6 minutes while teams in heat suits ran across a hot skin and strapped new plates over the wound, cursing in the old languages of ships and love. Sloane kept her voice level. "We are not pretty," she said. "We are here, that's enough." At dusk, if you can call a change in star-tone dusk, they had pulled 803 children through the lane. They had lost 2 small craft to teeth that remembered how to choose. Those numbers sat on Jake's tongue like stone. He could not spit them out. He could only hold them and taste their shape and know he would carry them. The Home Council sent another message. It was longer. It invoked law and taxes and words like strategic. Sloane did not answer. Earth News sent a new story too. It showed a human mother holding a glowing child under a yellow blanket printed with a bear. The caption said rescued. Some feeds started to change. People argued. Arguments are music too. They can be ugly. They can also build harmony. Night green and vibrating deepened. A Zephyrian singer set up in the bay and hummed to the children. The song carried vibrations that eased pain in their nerves the way a cat's purr knits bone. Humans felt the song too. It made shoulders drop. It made sleep easier even with alarms on a hair trigger. Jake sat with his back against a crate. Lisa sat beside him with a mug of broth between both hands like it was a prayer bowl. Kara slept in a pile of netting and looked like a person who could not be comfortable and did not care. Velter lowered himself to the deck in the careful way of his people, who were hard and could crack if they forgot their weight. He placed his coat around a cluster of sleeping children and dimmed his lights to warm gold. "You will break for real if you do not rest," he said to Jake and Lisa. "We'll get there," Jake said. Velter looked at the ceiling. "We have a tradition when the dark pushes hard," he said. "We share core stories, not the ones about heroes, the ones about why we became a people at all." "Humans have those too," Lisa said. "We are bad at remembering them during noise." "Tell me one," Velter said. Jake thought. The bay hummed. The world tasted like metal and hope. When I was a child, he said, my father fixed things, old radios, cars. He said the world talks to you in clicks and knocks. If you listen, you can fix the click and the knock stops. He also said the world sings. If you sing back, sometimes it sings with you. Velter's lights warmed. Yes, he said, we will sing back. A call sounded, not an alarm, a small chime. Kara jolted up as if shot. What? Jake said. Training alert, Kara said, squinting at the screen she had been using as a pillow. Ground, Phillips wants. She stopped, she looked at Jake. He did not move, he did not breathe for a second. Say it, he said. Devourers landed on the far slope, she said. Ground now. Sloane's voice came over ship-wide, calm at the edge, like a driver on black ice. All ground teams to pick up. The swarm is trying claws again. We break them and get back to the line. Jake stood. His knees found strength he did not think he had. He picked up a rifle. He checked the battery. He checked the strap. He looked at Velter. Your laws, he said, about violence. Velter's lights twisted with sorrow and steel. We heal and we warn, he said, but we will not let them eat our children while we talk about philosophy. They rode down in a lift that smelled like dust and oil and hot skin. The south door opened onto a slope of glass sand that sang under boots in small broken notes. The air tasted like cut copper. The green glow made shadows long and wrong. Devourer ground forms moved like heavy water poured through bone molds. They built legs as they ran. They grew mouths when they needed to chew. They used their own dead as scaffolds. Colonel Phillips stood behind a low wall of fused sand. He wore a grin that had nothing to do with joy. Brought a mechanic, he yelled at Jake over the pulse of rifles. Brought a friend, Jake yelled back and jerked a thumb at Velter. Velter stepped to the wall and raised both hands. His inner lights pulsed a chord humans had not heard yet. The devourer forms stumbled. Some froze, some learned and kept coming. What did you do? Phillips yelled, not taking his eye off the sights. Noise, Velter said. Bad rhythm, they hate it. Your singer taught me ugly music. Lisa will be so proud, Jake muttered. They fought. It was not beautiful. It was the kind where your feet slide and your fingers cramp and your heart tries not to jump out of your mouth. The devourers bled a fluid that steamed in cold air and stank like rot and iron. When hit, they shuddered. When killed, they fell apart like sand castles under a wave. Jake shot until the battery coughed empty. He slammed a new one in with numb hands. He looked left and saw Kara laughing like a crazy woman as she fired, because she laughed when she was too close to fear to do anything else. He looked right and saw a human kid who was also a soldier with a burned line across his cheek steady another kid's hands on a rifle. He saw Velter step forward and sing a wrong song that made a devourer's legs forget how to be legs. Push, Phillips yelled. Don't give them dead metal to eat. Don't give them our fear. They pushed, they held. The devourers pulled back, not defeated, but done learning for the hour. Phillips clapped Jake's shoulder. Not bad, old man. Go kiss a mine, Jake said, and found he was smiling. Kara stepped in front of him suddenly and slapped his chest. It was not gentle. It hurt. He blinked. What? She pointed up. The green glow thinned. The clouds tore. For a brief minute, stars showed bare. They were not alone in those stars. A new shape slid into view. It was not human. It was not devourer. Its plates were smooth and white. Its engines made no glow visible to human eyes. It moved like thought. What is that? Phillips whispered. Velter's lights flared warm. They came, he said, and if Zephyrians had tears, he would have cried then. The Kioran, the river flyers, they heard your story faster than the news. The white ship broadcast a simple note. It was prime. It was 3. It was a greeting that belongs to no one and so belongs to everyone. Sloane's voice came on the net with a new tone in it, hope with steel wrapped around it like wire. All hands, she said. We have company, good kind. Jake looked at Kara. Kara looked at Jake. Tomorrow, she said, might be less bad. Don't jinx it, he said. The white ship opened a bay. Inside were crates marked with symbols Jake did not know but could read with his nose. Food, medicine, a new kind of blanket. The devourers gathered at the edge of the valley, like a storm, deciding whether to move. Back to the line, Sloane said. We have a road and we have help. We finish what we started. Jake nodded. He picked up his rifle. He started walking. The glass sand sang under his boots. It was a new song. It had a crack in it. The crack shone. The Kioran ship moved with the quiet grace of a bird above a wide river. It drifted to the edge of the lane and unfurled panels that bent light in ways that made Devourer targeting lenses see ghosts. Under that cover, small Zephyrian craft slid through like minnows under lily pads. Shielding, Lisa whispered in awe, not armor, misdirection. Like a mother's hands, Velter said. His lights pulsed the color humans had learned to call home. More allies answered. The Kioran had sent a call to other quiet species the Zephyrians had sung within old gardens. A cerulean tug arrived, engines like deep drums, and pulled 3 child boats at once. A carapace freighter from the long-distant rim rolled in slow and steady like a boulder that had decided to help and could not be moved by argument. Earth News turned. It did not turn by love. It turned by images and numbers. Reporters showed children under yellow blankets. They showed human hands holding alien hands. They showed Sloane's scarred hull and played clips of a mechanic wrapping a blanket around a glowing child with care that looked like prayer. They showed Velter teaching a human kid to say a light cord with a hand instead of a throat. They showed Rodriguez laughing in the mouth of hell. The broadcast that had said unknown intention now showed alliance in action. People argued less, some still shouted. The world always keeps a pocket of shout for later, but the sound under it changed key. The Home Council sent a new message. It did not forgive, it did not forget. It said, do your job, we will vote after. Sloane did her job. They pulled the last Zephyrian child out of the corridor 3 days after the hive fell. He was small and tired and held a blue stone in his hand. The stone was nothing special. It was a piece of a floor from a house that no longer existed. It mattered because his mother had held it once. He gave it to Jake and said one word the throat band caught and mangled but was clear anyway. Keep. Jake kept it. After the last child came through, the Devourers made one more try. They hurled a broken moon at the lane, a chunk of old ice and rock and metal full of dead machines they had eaten and could not digest. The rock tumbled like a god's coin toss. It would have crushed a dozen craft. The Constancy moved. She had 1 good engine bell and 1 patched. She had scar tissue. She had crew who were held together by burned coffee and stubbornness. She is a heavy thing, Jake thought, but heavy things can dance if they know why. Sloane angled the Constancy between the rock and the line and fired the last of her forward jets. The ship kissed the rock and shoved. Plates buckled. Bolts screamed. Teeth moved in mouths beyond any sight. The rock slid 1 ship width aside. That ship width was all the line needed. The crew cheered. Then they fell down where they stood because bodies do that when a story hits the part where the hero breathes. Ground cleared slower. Devourers do not think about ships and lanes only. They think about soil and blood and the way bodies break. Phillips led teams into ruins and pulled out equipment before the enemy could eat it and learn. Velter sang bad songs that made legs trip. Kyra rigged a trap with beacons and scrap that made a Devourer platoon march in a circle for an hour looking for a road that did not exist. Jake shot and carried, and then once simply held a kid while his inner lights finally stopped chattering fear and settled into the warm gold of safe. When it was done, when the last Devourer ground shape shivered and fell and melted into something that looked like spoiled sugar, when the last child slept under a not anymore yellow blanket that smelled like a human hallway, not a hive, when the Constancy floated in a dry dock under white lights, that meant, we saved you so you can fight again. They stood on the ridge and looked at the valley. The glass trees had been broken for years. The green clouds would glow again, but it would take time. Time is a tool. People who have been hurt know how to use it. Sloane stood with her hands behind her back. The scar on her hull was now also on her face. Not a cut. A line you could only see if the light hit her eyes and showed the new way the muscles around them carried resolve. You will be tried, she said to Jake. I figured, he said. I will testify, she said. I figured, he said again. She looked at the valley. You were right about one thing, she said. Only one, he asked. Today, she said, and the smallest smile touched her mouth, I'm generous, too. Jake waited. You said we don't run, she said. I thought you meant we'll fight instead. Sometimes you do, but sometimes we don't run means we stand and hold the door. We held the door today. Jake nodded. Doors matter. They do, she said. She glanced at him, then away. I'm still mad at you. It looks good on you, he said. She snorted. It sounded like a laugh from a person who still did not like laughing near her crew. Velter approached, coat lifting in the valley wind. He carried a small box in both hands. He held it like a symbol. He stopped in front of Sloane and Jake and opened it. Inside lay a ring of glass threaded with a wire of some metal humans would later call tellurium, because the first engineer to measure it got frustrated with its behavior and wrote, "Tolerate this," on the test form. The ring glowed faint blue from inner lights embedded in the glass. "Our singers vote," Velter said. "We are not a government, but we know what to do when a story needs a sign. This is the first chord. We give it to those who held when everyone else bent. We give it to both of you." Sloane blinked. Jake looked at the ring and saw a future where people argued about who gets to call themselves ally, and he did not hate that argument because it was better than counting dead. Velter held the ring. He did not know how to put it on a human hand. He did not need to. He placed it between them. Each touched it. It warmed. Rodriguez wandered up, a bandage on his arm and a grin on his mouth. "I leave you alone for 5 minutes and you start a diplomatic ceremony," he said. "Typical." "Shut up, Ben," Sloane said with no heat. Lisa joined them. Her voice was almost back. Kara came too, yawning. Phillips ambled up, chewing something that did not come from a lab. The Kioran captain hovered nearby, her white plates reflecting green in a way that made her look like a cloud caught on stone. They stood there, the small knot that war makes out of strangers, when it wants to teach them something the quiet days never had to teach. "So what now?" Kara asked. "We've got kids, we've got scars, we've got a half-patched ship and a song Velter says is ugly." "Now," Sloane said, "we build." "Build what?" Phillips asked. "Something that makes the Devourers change their diet," Rodriguez said. "Something that makes we don't travel farther than a broadcast," Lisa said. Velter's lights pulsed a slow chord. "We will form a circle," he said. "We will call it an alliance, we will tie it with stories, we will fix our bowls with gold." The Kioran captain lifted a hand. "We have a word for that too," she said. Her voice was translated through a field that smelled like rain. "We call it river law. When the river rises, you lift your neighbor's boat first, because if you don't, the water you thought was yours will drown you too." Sloane nodded. "Fine," she said. "We'll put that in the charter." "Charter," Kara said. "We're writing charters now." "Somebody has to keep the lawyers fed," Jake said. "If they're eating paper, they're not in our way." They laughed. It was small and honest, and a little mean the way laughter in hard places often is. A runner came from the bay. He had ink on his hands and a roll of plastic in his arm. "Ma'am," he said to Sloane, "you need to see this." Sloane unrolled the plastic. It was a manifest. It was a list of ships. It was a list of commitments. It was names of species Jake had never seen. It was signatures. At the top, Galactic Protection Alliance, founding signatories. Sloane looked up, and for a second she did not look like a soldier or a bureaucrat or a woman angry at a world that made her choose between lives. She looked like someone who had found a door and realized she could hold it and also ask others to hold it with her. "Let's go home," she said. "We have a lot of desks to yell at." "After we rebuild this valley," Phillips said. "After we teach ugly music to new friends," Lisa said. "After I sleep for 2 days," Kara said. "After I visit the gardens," Velter said softly. "There are no trees yet, but there will be walls to sing to, walls remember." Jake looked at the green sky. He looked at the ridge. He looked at the ring of glass and the faces around him and the small blue stone in his pocket. He remembered the first word he had said in this story that mattered more than orders or reports. "We don't run," he said. He did not whisper. He did not shout. He spoke as if telling a friend which way to turn at a stop sign on a quiet road at night. The others said it with him, exactly once, as if to practice the feel, not to make a banner. The words hung in the air like breath. Then they went to work. In the months that followed, they built a fleet with Zephyrian energy and human stubbornness and Kioran grace. They wrote rules that were short and true. They argued. They fixed the arguments. They put the cracks in gold. Some days they saved people. Some days they failed. The failures did not break them because they had decided already what to do when breaking came. The Devourers watched from the edges of dark. They adapted. They came again with new teeth. The Alliance met them with new hands. War did not become easy. It became shared. That changed everything. Children grew. The yellow blankets lost their bare prints to wash and time and became simply blankets. The blue stone Jake kept became smooth from being held. He set it on the desk of a girl he later adopted because the world had given her no one and he had room in his home and in his stubborn heart. Sloane's trial happened. It lasted 3 days. It ended when Velter stood in the chamber and said, "If you punish her, you punish us. We do not accept that. Try us all." The council did the math. They called it something else on paper. It was math anyway. Sloane kept her ship. She got a different desk and a new scar and a story that would be told by people who like order and people who like risk and people who like both. Lisa's voice came back. She sang ugly music and good music. She invented a rhythm that made devourer teeth go dull when they bit alloy lined with tellurium. She named it Jake's Joke because it made Kara groan and because a weapon that makes your friends laugh is a better weapon than one that only makes your enemies drown. Kara swore less. She loved more. She built a tiny workshop in a corner of the bay where kids could hit metal with safe hammers and make small, bright things that meant, I was here and I make, not just survive. Some of those kids had inner light. Some did not. They all got grease on their noses in the same places. Phillips trained a new class of officers who did not flinch when their allies sang wrong songs. Rodriguez finally slept 6 hours in a row. He woke up annoyed at how good it felt. Velter planted a single glass tree seed in soil that had been burned and scraped and bitten. He sang to it every day. One morning he walked to the ridge and found that it had sprouted a pale new twig. He stood a long time and watched wind move a thing that could break but did not. He made his lights warm and steady and spoke a human word to the air without the band. Home, he said. Years later, when the Alliance faced a different storm, one not of teeth, but of whispers and votes, when the Kioran argued with the Ceruleans about freight routes and someone from Earth said something stupid on a broadcast that made aliens with long memories go cold, people told a story to remind each other why they had a circle at all. It started the same way every time, in simple words children understood and old soldiers needed. Once, they said, under green clouds and on singing glass, a voice said help. The devourers came, the gates were narrow, the rules were loud, the people could have run. They didn't, the listener would say, because some stories teach answers by the way your mouth wants to move. No, the teller would say. They didn't, they held the door, they learned ugly music and built ships out of stubbornness and hope. They made their cracks gold, that is why you are here, little one, that is why you can sleep. The little ones would ask, what did they write on the door? The teller would smile. 3 words, they would say, not a threat, not a prayer, a promise. And the children, human and Zephyrian and Kioran and kinds not yet named, would say them together so that their throats could learn the shape before their hearts needed the courage. We don't run,